thing too is that patents are just ideas. That's all it is.
Well, it's a stamp on an idea for legal reasons, really.
Correct. And then
that's all.
That's what it is. And I'm glad you brought that point up in the video about just because a company. I mean, I can just imagine going into the vault in Nintendo and really looking at the because all patents aren't public. There's some patents that can't be public.
Well, some of them are held. But
exactly.
all the patents for everything that's actually gone to market are public. So
yeah. But what I'm saying is that Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, could have hundreds and hundreds of patents sitting in a locked vault that nobody can see. I mean, so you'd be really naive, and maybe one or two out of those thousands of patents sitting there will come to fruition. It's just the way it is. Just like we said with that device that Nintendo was talking about, the VR device.
The head-mounted display. Yep.
Yeah, that is just a patent. It does not mean that Nintendo is trying to get into the VR business. But although there are some of the executives, they do kind of hint at stuff. They kind of put out words that you kind of scratch your head.
No, they still have a hard-on for it. I know they have a hard-on for it. Okay.
The Virtual Boy?
Well, no, the only person who really doesn't have a hard-on for it is Shigeru Miyamoto. All right, but the Nintendo guys, not just the Nintendo guys, but also their investors. Excuse me, correction. Maybe not so much now. Mm-hmm. All right, especially since none of the VR devices have taken the industry by storm. Okay, but yeah, up until just until the end of the year, almost all of the investors and everybody else who had money in the video game business, they all had a hard-on for the VR part of the industry.
Well, what's interesting is that the Oculus Rift is done.
It all depends. It all depends on whether or not ZeniMax succeeds in filing that injunction to halt sales on the Rift.
Everybody says that's going to happen.
Most likely because they won the case.
Exactly. So that I mean, or either that or that ZeniMax. What is it? ZeniMax. Whether or not that they're going to say, okay, fine, you can still keep it out, but we'll give you 5% of the profit, and everything else goes to us. Or
no, the guys at Oculus aren't going to do that. They aren't. They're going to sit there. They're going to say, "Fuck you." All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rename it.
We're out.
And then and then they're going to sit there, and when ZeniMax sits there and says, "But that's built on our technology," they're going to be like, "Prove it. None of our guys are attached to you, and we already have experience in doing this bullshit."
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that's gonna set them back, a good 3 years.
The thing is, though, again, this year is going to be very interesting to me simply because of the end of the year with Microsoft. I think it's going to be very interesting. We're just going to. I don't see Microsoft coming back out of the deficit that they're in now.
No, in fact, a
4K machine. But it's going to be interesting that, that to me, if I understand it right, is that the Scorpio, or whatever they decide to call that shit, is built around straight 4K gaming and VR. It's specifically built for that.
If it doesn't happen now, starting now, it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 months, that the sales of the Xbox is going to go down to a fucking drip. All right. Until the actual release of the Scorpio, because everybody knows that it's coming. All right, and the thing is that there aren't games that are right around the corner that are going to make people who don't have an Xbox One to go out of their way to purchase it.
Yep.
And since everybody knows that the bigger, better machine is out there, they're going to be like, oh, why don't I wait a few months?
Well, it was the same concept when they introduced the Xbox Slim or Xbox One Slim or whatever they call it.
Well, the thing with the Slim, though, is that it was actually, I would have to say, between the base Xbox, the launch Xbox, and the Xbox Slim, there's actually a worthwhile trade-off or investment, okay? Because at the very least, if you're looking for a really cheap 4K Blu-ray player, you have it right there. And guess what? It plays games on top of that, and you have access to a whole bunch of other online apps.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually kind of worth the money. But if you're sitting there and you're looking for an Xbox One just to play the games, and you're sitting there and you're like, well, fuck the Scorpio's right around the corner. If you aren't convinced already and you don't have a PC that can play all the shit that they offer on the Windows 10 marketplace, you know,
exactly.
Yeah. You have no fucking reason right now.
And yeah, I mean, in all honesty, you know, I mean, that's the truth right there. It's just really strange that on Sony's PlayStation 4, they don't have the high definition Blu-ray. I mean, that really blows my mind when they own the patent on that. I mean, what did Microsoft kill to get that on their system? I mean, Sony had to know about it. That's what.
Well, here's the funny thing is that even though Sony owns Blu-ray and everything, they own the format and all of that. The funny thing is that last time I checked, they don't have a 4K Blu-ray player out on the market.
No, they don't.
So they don't even have their own dedicated manufactured hardware.
No,
that they can go ahead and use components for the PS4 Pro.
Let's be honest here. Sony is fucking failing, as a company in general. Their TVs, the only thing that's keeping this is what people are saying. You know, the only thing that's keeping Sony afloat is Sony Interactive Entertainment.
Yeah.
Everything else has been pretty much in a hard slide. You know,
I wouldn't say it's what's keeping them afloat. It's what's keeping them viable. That's for sure. And the thing is that they're able to leverage their gaming market to make up for the losses in all the other ones,
other areas. Because
I think the problem is with Sony is that they're still stuck in the mindset, and they've been stuck in this mindset for the last 20 years, before the turn of the century, that anything with Sony on it, there is no middle grade or low grade product. It's all high grade. Okay, there are no cheap Sony things, or there are no middle ground Sony products. Okay,
right.
Everything has to have is a AAA top dollar product, even if it's not the best in its fucking class or in its part of the industry. Which is the reason why the thing about it was that when LG and Samsung started running away with their manufactured panels for HD TVs, here's the thing. All right, if you get a Magnavox or Toshiba or any of the other high grade, top of the line TVs that aren't LG or Samsung, guess what? They're going to have a panel made by LG or Samsung in that fucking thing.
Yep. Something.
Yeah. So it's one thing, and like I said, Sony's been doing this since 1997, 1998.
Well,
where
I think it's just Sony is a Japanese company. The way the Japanese do business is different than the Western world. It just is, and almost a black and white difference. And the thing is that, like you said, Sony, you don't pay for the top of the line. I mean, you do. But what you do is you're paying for that Sony brand right there. You're
brand name.
You're paying for those 4 letters right there on the bottom of your TV screen or on your CD player or wherever. You know that's the best that you can get from the Sony.
Because here's the thing with like Samsung, even though they put out like some of the best, they do put out the best 4K TVs right now. Okay, is that if you want a 4K TV that's the same size, that's a lower grade, that doesn't have all the features, Samsung will put that out. Yep. Okay, you could find a 65-inch curved Samsung 4K TV that doesn't have the features that mine has, and guess what? It'll be a few $100s less.
Mm-hmm.
Sony doesn't do that with any of their products.
No. No, I mean there are some. I mean, before it used to be that LG, you know, they're just coming into that market, you know, and then people were like skittish, like, I don't know if I want an LG or not.
Yeah, they were dumping their products on the industry, you know.
Yeah, but now, that was 10 years ago, where people were like, LG, I don't know, those things break. Now, 10 years later, or the turn of the century, or to now, they have went above and beyond from where they used to be, and now, like, you want an LG TV because that's the top of the line, best of the best, and you can get it at a reasonable price. You're not paying $300 just because it says Sony on the bottom of the screen.
Not only that, but let's say you're looking at 60-inch LG TVs. All right, they're both 4K.
Yep.
But let's say you don't care about the fact that it has fucking Netflix installed,
Mm-hmm.
or Hulu installed, or some shit like that. You don't want all the smart TV apps.
Smart TVs.
You can sit there. You can get basically the same TV without all of those other fucking features for like $300 less.
Yep.
Sony doesn't do that with any of their TVs.
It's all or nothing.
They don't do that with any of their fuking products.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, is like if you buy a Sony TV with all that stuff preloaded, you can't get rid of it. It comes in as a package. You know, you
can't get rid of any of that.
No.
And part of the price is the fact that they licensed the fact to have Netflix, Hulu, and all that other shit installed.
Yep. I don't need all that shit. I really don't. I mean, why? I don't need that shit preloaded. I mean, because if I could spend $300, $400 less by not have and get the same quality TV as I would if I did have, no, I'll go with a cheaper TV without all that, the bells and whistles, and I could still get my 4K videos or 4K gaming or whatever I may want, you know, program, whatever. It's just, but I mean, I just don't understand why Sony doesn't do that. You know, it doesn't have a mediocre. I'm not saying like a shit. You know, like you said, a mediocre. Like, okay,
no, just a lower tier product. That's all.
Without all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, you know, that's all that is. I mean, you know, if they have something that's a little bit more budget friendly in all of their products out there, whether it be their TVs, their receivers,
mm-hmm.
their laptops, and all of that stuff, they would be a lot better off, especially considering that nowadays that none of their top of the line stuff is top of the industry when it comes to whatever that device is. Okay, back before the turn of the century, a Sony Vega Trinitron TV CRT was like, oh my fucking God, yeah, I'll go out of my way to get that thing because guess what? Not only does it give me a good picture quality, but it's built like a fucking tank and it'll last forever. Okay? Yep. I understand that. Nowadays, you know, almost 20 years later, it's like, guess what? The Sony product it's not top of the line anymore, but they're still asking for top of the line money. No, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to do that. The one argument that I had with a lot of people was like, if Sony had put out the 3DS would not have cost $250 at launch. It would have cost $400.
Just for the brand name.
Yeah, and the fact that that's just how Sony does things, mm-hmm. you know. And that's true. So, and it wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful either.
It would have. It kind of begs to consider that maybe, you know, with the PlayStation 4 that we actually paid the Sony price for that, or the Sony name brand is what I meant.
Here's the funny thing. Here is the funny thing. With the PlayStation lineup of products, the gaming products, that is the only industry, that is the only market where they sit there and they're like, The consumer will not go above a certain threshold, so we have to keep it at an area. They learned that lesson with the PS3. The moment it cost motherfuckers $700 for a PS3, all right, and they suffered for 2.5 years, almost 3 fucking years for that. They learned that fucking lesson. They're never going to do that. Never, never, never. All right.
They just need to apply that for the other departments in Sony. You know, and like I said, you know, I never want a particular company or brand to just disappear, because it just, you know, the more competition, the more innovation you have. Because, I mean, that's just the way I see it. You know, you can't just – otherwise the market will be just, you know, flat, and nobody will be innovating to push that envelope even further. Oh, okay, Microsoft did this, or okay, Ford did this, but Chevy did this, Dodge Ram did this. You know, there's got to be competition, and it's not just in the gaming industry.
Hey, for as stupid as Microsoft has been with the Xbox One, you know what? If they weren't as successful as they were with the Xbox 360,
I agree.
Then Sony would not be doing the same thing, the things that they're doing right now. Okay, I mean, neither would Nintendo, for that matter.
That's kind of an interesting concept, because, you know, what would happen, or what would have happened if actually Microsoft didn't have the Red Rings of Death at the Xbox 360? How much further do you think Xbox 360 would be ahead of PlayStation 3? But PlayStation 3 actually caught up and surpassed the Xbox 360. So
I think they were about neck and neck at the end. All right, but it took them a good 3 to 4 years to go ahead and get to that point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it definitely, unfortunately, Microsoft learned the wrong lessons from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it seems to apply those lessons in the Xbox One. I really would love to be a fly on the wall during the development board or whatever, when they really thought it was a good idea to have a always on, always listening Spybox 3000 sitting underneath people's. What the fuck, Microsoft?